And welcome back to the Utica Curling Club channel. We had an internet outage widespread over the Northeast this afternoon that wiped out our coverage of in the middle of draw 3. We're back with you with draw 5, Pool A action. Last game in pool play, last of 3 games. And our feature game this evening will be Syracuse University. And they'll be playing against RPI 1. Syracuse will have the red rocks, RPI with the blue rocks. These are the top 2 teams in pool play after the first 2 games. And the winner of this match will be first seed in the championship final. The loser may still qualify for the finals as a lower seed, but this is still an important game. Two fairly experienced teams. Most players on both of these teams have 4 or more years of curling experience. So this should be a good matchup. Syracuse is skipped by Paul Mokotov. He throws third rocks. Luke Sanders throws fourth rocks and is vice skip. Clarisse Lorenz at second and Matthew Aldinger at lead. RPI 1 skipped by David Donkaski. Caitlin Holt at third. Ross Lancaster at second and James Cassidy at lead. And it looks like RPI will have the hammer here in the first end. We're glad to be back with you after suffering an internet outage. We had a little bit of a challenge keeping up with the standings on our live draw board. Running through our phone is a hot spot, kind of like going back to the old dial-up days. But we're back online with high-speed internet, and I hope the quality of the video and the audio is suitable and will make for an enjoyable game. We'll try to keep you updated on other matches going around on our 6 sheets this evening in this final and third game in Pool A in the preliminary round. Playoffs start tomorrow morning. The semifinals at 8:30, finals at 11:30. Matthew Aldinger for Syracuse playing a come around, and we're coming up just a little bit short. On a couple guards in play.
Don't let it die. Let the dream go on. My bad, boys. The other sheets are a lot faster.
It's been an interesting weekend here in central New York. We've had somewhere between 12 and 18 inches of snow in the last few days, but all the teams made it here. Had an internet outage earlier today. Threw things for a loop, but everybody's here and competing and having fun. And it's great to have 24 teams here for this final Bonspiel of the qualification season for USA Curling College Nationals, which will be in March. This is the last weekend to qualify for that event, and there are 294 qualification points at stake for the teams competing in this event. So they're all eager to pad their resumes for entry and seeding in that national championship event, which will be held in Fargo. And I believe that's around March 10th. We're expecting 9 or 10 teams probably from the eastern region of the U.S. to make that event. Nice come around there by Chris Lorenz. Nicely positioned top four behind those two guards, and RPI is going to be eager to clear those guards and throws that one just a shade wide. Now a chance for Chris Lorenz to sink another draw. In our interrupted stream this afternoon, Chris was on fire. He's throwing a couple of freezes in the first ends to set his team up for a deuce or get them out of trouble. Chris has dropped another one around that center guard. Over curling, look at that. Going sideways at the end. Got two stones now behind the center guards. Now Ross Lancaster being asked to remove one of these guards and open up shot stones. It's going to overcurl a little bit. It's going to get the back guard. So not a bad result. Cleared one of those guards. Now for Syracuse to throw the other turn to throw the guard. And the skipper will get to throw this one. Paul Mokotov, Syracuse skip, throwing third rocks this weekend. The lineup's been working well for them. And always a great feeling when the skipper is throwing guards. Sweepers are on this one right away. You got all three of them going. Not sure they're getting this one over. They're pounding it. Rock is still moving. And it's not going to make it. It just comes up short. That's unfortunate. That leaves shot stone open. Both shot stones open. A double's available. Nose hit should get two. And Caitlin Holt for RPI. And pitched that one a little bit wide, and that's going to give Paul another chance to redeem himself with the guard here. Luke Sanders, the vice skip, and fourth, holding the broom. This one looks like a little bit better weight. Needs to curl up a bit. All the locals know that on sheet 2, that spot on the ice runs a little bit straight. It's been that way ever since I've been a member of the club. Don't know if there's a warm pipe down there or the air circulation, but for years and years, that spot has run really straight. Caitlin with a second opportunity now to clear some stones, and she's going to find that straight spot as well. It does clear the guard, so that's a plus. But that will allow Luke Sanders to replace the guard. I think they need to take a little less ice than they just took. Doesn't curl much in that spot. Or on that side of the sheet. And Luke Sanders with his guard attempt. Put the sweepers on that early, and again, that's just going to hang out wide. They're just taking a little too much ice for that guard. They can play that a whole lot tighter. I'm going to go ahead and try to bring this one into the rings. Now Skip David Donkoski will try to remove a couple stones. And turn this one in just a little bit. This is just going to click the top stone and roll away. Didn't even remove the top one. Hit it very thin. Now a chance to throw another guard. Need to tighten up the ice on this guard. Did move it in a few inches. I think they could throw this guard middle 8 foot with the target. Luke Sanders with his last here in the first end. One more rock to come. Trying to put a guard over shot stone now. I like the line this time. Maybe just a little on the hot side. And just cleaning, and that's going to freeze right up to the shot rock. Tough double, though. Gonna have to throw a rocket to move 2. It does appear if they do nose hit those, or just a little off nose, they may be shot. RPI may be able to get shot rock. Let's just take a close peek. Yeah, I think if they hit those stones in the middle, they should be shot if they can get both of them to go. The problem is you can't hit it on the nose because that red stone will jam. So you have to hit this one a little off center. I think what you need to do is try to hit about 2/3 of a rock and hope you can catch on this one. This one will go out this way. This one will go out that way. They'll need this as a catcher, though. They'll have to throw a lot of weight to move both rocks. Last rock, first end. Hammer stone. And RPI is just going to throw a draw here, try to get their single. They need to grab full 4 foot. And this one's over curled already. And is short. And that'll be a steal of 4 for Syracuse. Paul hanging the score before the stone even came to rest. Didn't get their guards, but they forced RPI to draw against a bundle, and they came up light. So Syracuse grabs a 4-0 lead early here. Syracuse will lead off the second end. RPI with the Blue Rocks will have the last rock advantage here in the second. Long way to go. 4-0 lead is not insurmountable. 7 more innings to go. A lot can happen. One of the great pieces of advice from Russ Howard, a very accomplished Canadian curler, many-time Canadian and world champion, says you can't go into your defensive shell until there's the score is you're ahead in the score more than you have ends left to play. So up 4 with 7 to play is not safe yet, although certainly in control. Syracuse first stone kind of came into the house. That really didn't hurt them with a 4-point lead. They can afford to trade hits with RPI. Calling for a center guard here, staying with their normal game plan, but certainly nothing wrong with playing into the rings and forcing RPI's hand, asking them how they should set up the end to get their deuce or better. And a nice high center guard there from lead Matt Aldinger. Come around attempt wrecks on the guard, but that's an excellent result. It rolls for 2 corners. And RPI is in business with the last rock advantage here in the second end. They've got corner guards to hide behind, and the center of the ring's open. Chris Lorenz being asked to replace the center guard. He had a terrific game earlier today in their second pool game. That one runs in just a little deep. Nice weight control, though. Nice call here by skip Dave Donkowski. That stone on the top 12 is no real scoring threat yet. Taking time to come around the corner guard. And that draw attempt is just a little heavy. Got a fortunate rub, and that's going to roll for second shot. And a couple choices here for Syracuse. They're going to throw the center guard. They're going to stay with an aggressive stance here early in the game. The defensive play would be to run that blue stone off the back and make sure that RPI doesn't build up a big end against you. Still early in the end, though. And a nice little center guard from Chris. And RPI is going to chase the shot stone. Try to sit 1 and 2. They got some guards in play. They got places to hide now. they can hit and roll under the corner, they can think about setting up 2 or 3 here. Threw that one just a little wide. That's going to clunk on the corner. And we'll roll to a center position. Now the middle's starting to get a little cluttered, and that favors Syracuse for setting up a steal. Tough to draw through the port, but you know it wouldn't be a bad thing if you just kind of clunk off your own, spin underneath, and then you push that one to the back 8. That would let you sit 2 and have 1 under cover. Be pretty well positioned for a steal. Looked like Syracuse took a lot of ice again on this straight side of the ice. And this rock still hasn't got back even to the position of the stone in the rings. Just runs dead straight out there. And Syracuse sits first and third, but shot stone's wide open. And I think RPI would just love to roll underneath here and get the jump. On Syracuse, they can make this hit and roll. They'll be sitting 2. 1 buried. Don't think either team has picked up yet that this side of the ice is a little straight compared to the other side. And that takeout ran just straight as a rope. And Paul's going to take pretty tight ice for the takeout here. Want to be careful here. You want to make sure you remove that blue stone. Don't want to chip off your red. That would set RPI up for a score of 3 maybe. Paul threw really nice soft weight there. Still didn't curl a lot, but didn't take much risk with that takeout. Nicely thrown. And now it's a question whether or not Syracuse is shot. I think RPI still has to deal with that stone. It's a very usable stone, can be tapped in underneath the guards. So I would think RPI would want to remove it. Could sit right there would be a great spot. Yeah, the doubles there. You got to be a little careful of the jam in the back.
Try to get it. Not much more.
That one just ran a bit wide. Syracuse believes they're shot stone. They're thinking about a guard. I tell you, I'd be very tempted to just put a little tap on that blue, and that would squirt the red stone right under the guards. If you don't throw a perfect guard on this, RPI will just smack their blue stone and remove that red one from play. It will go right over the top of the stone in the back. If you take a look at the way these angles are set up, this stone will go over the top. Luke thinks he's a little heavy on this rock. I'd sweep for that tap. That's not a bad result, but it's still backing up. Again, there's such a straight spot there. Now a chance for RPI. I think they just strike that blue stone, get rid of the red. And from our angle here behind the glass, it looks like that red stone will clearly go over the top of the blue in the back of the rings. Yeah, a lot of times in curling, you think about what shots you're leaving the opposition rather than what shot you can make. And I think that was a case where tapping that blue-red combination just to unglue it and take this shot away would have been a really good call for Syracuse, I think. Move the red stone into a better shot position behind the guards. And kind of eliminate the possibility of them using their RPI using that blue stone to remove Syracuse shot rock. Working this one very hard. And it over curled. So the Syracuse shot stone still lives. And now Syracuse needs to figure out how to get another stone on the rings. And I think the straight draw is an easy way to get there. I think they're just looking at drawing in. They do need to sit 1-2 because their current shot stone is kind of in a precarious situation. So they need another counter in the rings. And that would force RPI to collect their single. Luke Sanders with his last in the second end. Hammerstone to come. He's looking to throw a draw anywhere into the house, really. Sit 1-2 and force RPI to their single. This is coming around nicely. The only question is it going to stop in time, and it is. It is a beauty. Right to the top button. Solidly buried, and Syracuse is 1-2. That's going to force RPI to draw for their single, and the scoring area is quite small. They need a piece of the button to score. Clutch shot by Luke Sanders. So what you got to do if you're throwing last rocks, you need to have draw weight in your pocket. Last stone, second end for RPI, trying to draw for a single. And that hung on that straight spot, and it's just going to push the red stone in further. It was already second stone, though, so another steal of 2. For Syracuse, they take a commanding 6-0 lead after 2. Let's take a tour around the sheets. Over on sheet 1, Hamilton has grabbed a 2-0 lead against Penn State 2. That's after one end of play. Over on sheet 3, Harvard grabbed a 3 in the second end. They lead Villanova 2, 3-1 after two ends of play. Over on sheet 4, MIT is up 1-0 over Yale after one. Over on sheet 5, Bowdoin took 3 in the first. RIT grabbed 1 back in the second. After two ends, Bowdoin 1 leads RIT 2, 3-1. And over on sheet 6, Castleton has grabbed a 2-0 lead against Colgate 2. They're after one. In our feature game, Syracuse leads 6-0 after two, stealing 4 and then 2 in the first two ends. Some clutch draws and both ends of play by Syracuse to help set up those steals. And Syracuse shouldn't let any blue rock in the ring survive. I think they'll be in a hitting mode here with a 6-point lead with 6 ends to play. So a Leeds dream shot here. They don't get to make many of these, but Matt Aldinger will be asked to throw a hit. And I think he's got enough of it.
Feels good.
Rolls off the rings, but that's fine. Syracuse's job here is to make sure they can get at least a force. Make RPI take a single and then get the hammer. Syracuse would be happy to trade ones all the way to the end here. Corner guard by RPI, so again, they've got a couple corners, so they're in business. Those rocks cannot be removed from play until 5 rocks have been delivered, so Syracuse will have to draw around or throw guards. They don't really want guards at this stage of the game, so drawing around seems to be the order of the day at this point. So Chris Lorenz. Lots of guards in play now, so opportunity for RPI to bury some stones and build up a big end here. This one's going to over curl. Now there's just a ton of guards up front. Thinking about plan B here. They thought maybe the stone was a little heavy, but the weight's actually quite good. Didn't get the tick they were hoping for. It's going to go right to the D line. Now a chance for the elusive hit and roll. And a lot of steam on it. Not going to hang around. That's going to roll out of play. Talked about this in an earlier game. To get those hit and rolls to work for you, you've got to throw a little bit of down weight on your hits. About 10 seconds hog to hog. Most folks will call that bumper control weight. Give you a lot of control over that stone with the brooms, and it's not so hard that if you don't hit the rock perfectly square, it stays in the rings. You throw up weight, you've got to hit the rock pretty close to the nose to keep your shooters around. Now Paul Mokotov throwing third stones. Just looking to draw one in. The weight looks pretty good, but it's not finishing. Maybe just a little heavy. Going to go to the back of the house. Syracuse is shot, but they're behind T-line. That rock can be RPI's friend. It's a catcher for an RPI stone that might lie above it. Caitlin Holt to draw attempt. This looks like it's going to come right to the backer. Not a bad shot. Can't be removed. It's perfectly frozen, so Paul Mokotov will have to draw down to it to neutralize it. Now any mistake by Syracuse will open the door for a score of 2 by RPI. Paul would like to just follow this down and sit right on top of that blue stone, just thrown by Caitlin Holt. Jumped on that one right away. Just a little short. Sweepers are carrying it, but won't be shot rock. The draw path's a little bit tighter now. Caitlin will be asked to thread the needle here and see if RPI can get around the stone just thrown by Paul Mokotov, Syracuse. And this one just hung out. They're trying to sweep it by so as not to raise the red one into play, but they're just going to scoot it over a little bit. They do roll another stone on the rings, though, so that spells danger for Syracuse. That's an extra potential counter if they can move the Syracuse stones with the next few rocks. don't mind the little tap here. Just move that stone pawl through just to move it into a better scoring position. Again, they're playing a lot of ice on this kind of straight side of the ice. See what this rock does. Well, they're just trying to go through the hole now. It's still hanging out there. And they're by, and I think they're on the back one. They're by the back. Oh, just rubbed. Thought they might get by both. That is very tight port. Syracuse is shot stone, however. They are top 4. If you can get to nose, you can remove that without moving your stone in the back 8 foot. Do need to hit it right on the nose. Send it this way. Don't want to touch that one. Coming inside out at this. I'm not sure they're getting past the guard. They did, but it will jam in the back. That was the danger of crossing over. So they jam the Syracuse stone onto their own in the back of the house, and Syracuse is now shot stone. Now Luke Sanders will try to remove second stone, the shooter just thrown by RPI, and sit 1 and 2. Do need to be a little careful here. You don't want to hit this on the high side and run this into your own stone. Want to make sure you get to nose here, or maybe a little inside roll. Nice soft weight here. Didn't throw a ton at this, but it's going to hang wide. They might be looking at the double here. And they're going to get the opposite roll. That'll serve the purpose, and that again will roll right to top button. Good plan B there by Paul Mokotov, calling for the hit and roll. Now Syracuse, they sit 2. That'll put RPI in damage control mode. If they could get right to the nose of this stone, they could potentially score a couple. They've got the potential to double out those reds. They'll lose their blue in the process, but they'll sit 1 and 2. Tough shot, though. You got to get right to nose. Otherwise, they're just going to jam it up again like the previous shot. A lot more weight this time. It's just going to clip the top guard. And that'll be another steal of 2 for Syracuse. 8-0 Syracuse after 3. RPI's had some tough breaks, just clipping guards. And a real nice come around there by Matt Aldinger. Right to top 8 around that high guard. That's a gettable stone, but they'll have to throw, RPI will throw a down weight hit here to move shot stone. And a nice little down weight hit. Well done by James Cassidy. Crystal Lorenz will have to match it. This one will be a bit easier. The rock is now in the open. Not all bad. I don't think Syracuse needed that guard anyway. With an 8-0 lead. Let's take this chance to meet the teams. Syracuse is skipped by Paul Mokotov. He's a junior in aerospace engineering from Long Island, New York. Curled for 6 years, a little bit unusual for our college curlers. Most of them here in the Northeast don't learn how to curl until they start college. So Paul came with a little bit of prior experience. He says hello to family, friends, and the Long Island Curling Club. They have an arena curling club out there. Very nice folks. And they're hoping to get dedicated curling ice at some point. The fourth in Vice is Luke Sanders. He is a math major out of Rochester, New York. He's curled for 5 years, and he says hello to Robin McBride. Chris Lorenz is a sophomore, so he's got a few more years with this Syracuse team. He is a major in supply chain management and IT from Lincoln Park, New Jersey. Just curled a couple years, and it certainly looks like he's curled longer than that. And says hello to Paul's dog. Finally, Matt Aldinger as lead. He is a first-year student, mechanical engineer. Has never curled before. This is his first season, and he's having a good one. He comes from Syracuse, right around here locally. And he says hello to Mom, Dad, and the boys. That's your Syracuse University curling rink. RPI is skipped by David Donkaski. Class of 2020, I guess that makes him a senior. Computer and Systems Engineering, Computer Science out of Williamsburg, Virginia. Has curled for 4 years. Says hello to Evan. Suspect that's Evan Mullaney of RPI. Former curler out of that school. And a fine curler at that. Now the vice is Caitlin Holt. Vice skip throwing third rocks. Also a senior mechanical engineering. Brattlebin, New York. 3 years curling. Says hello to Mitchell Lozer. And we've seen him around here as well. He's curled in some 5 and under events as well as some of our college events. Another excellent curler from the Albany, Schenectady area. The second is Ross Lancaster, class of 2021, a junior. Major in biology and public health out of Lincoln, Rhode Island. Curled for 3 years. He also says hello to Mitch. As does James Cassidy, the lead. Also major in mechanical engineering, computer science. And senior or junior, maybe not sure. I don't know if that means he's not doing well in his classes or just likes engineering or more degrees. At any rate, he's from Westwood, Massachusetts, and been curling for 4 years. And an excellent team. They haven't had much luck tonight, but certainly one of the better teams out here at the 2020 UCC College Bonspiel. Sometimes in curling you're the windshield and sometimes you're the bug. RPI has got themselves a good team, but so far this game they've been the bug. I think they need to get themselves on the scoreboard here in the fourth end. And a little short coming around that corner guard. Syracuse has shot stone. It's not a great stone, just kind of barely biting the 8-foot. You like just to clear stones out, but there just seem to be a lot in play already. I think they figure they're in for a penny, in for a pound here. Either throw more guards or come around. Not all bad. Syracuse now has got 2 on the rings. Does give RPI a chance to hit and roll under here. They need a good hit and roll to get something started. The stone in the top 12 is a problem. That's a usable rock by Syracuse. They really need to get rid of it. I'd like to make this a dual purpose shot. Get rid of that stone and roll underneath the guards. Try to set yourself up for a multiple score. Skip indicating that shot was maybe a bit wide. And again, this is on the straight side of the sheet. Came right to nose. No question that stone will be removed by Syracuse. Nose hit would be fine, just sit right there. It's a very irritating spot for RPI. Certainly trading hits favors Syracuse. They're up big. They'd be happy to give up one. Each of the remaining ends, they'd still win by 3. Are they going to catch anything here? No, they're just going to tickle it. Again, both teams struggling a bit with the straight side of the sheet. No, the Syracuse team does play here locally. They should be aware. And skipper David Donkowski. Trying to draw a second stone in, and it's going to be a little heavy. Paul's going to work that to see if he can get it out of the rings. He succeeds, and another chance to remove the blue stone from play. Play that really tight. Now they're getting over to the spot on the sheet where they might catch some curl as they get close to the center line, so they'll have to be a little careful. Middle 4-foot outer runs pretty straight here on sheet 2. Everyone thinks this game might be easy because all the sheets of ice are really flat, but ice is slippery and each sheet has its own little character. Learning the little quirks of each sheet of ice as you play it is a really important skill for curling. And a much nicer throw by Luke. Took the weight down, make sure they tightened up the broom, and they remove shot stone. Rolls out of play, but I don't think they'll mind that. And RPI could try a blank here. They could hit and roll out and save their hammer for multiple score, but they're kind of running out of bullets. This is the 4th end, and they're down 8, so they need to put some points on the board. So they're going to draw. Much nicer weight by the skipper this time. It looks like that's going to be all over the 4-foot. And a very nice draw by Dave Donkowski. Grabbed his single. So they're on the board. RPI gets their single in 4. But they trail 8-1 after 4 innings of play, halfway home. Hey, and that's a good time to talk about our sponsors for the 2020 edition of the UCC College Bonspiel. Without these sponsors, this Bonspiel would not be possible. And we would probably go hungry. That would be a bad thing. So we'd like to extend our thanks to our sponsors, Duncan of Hamilton, Hannaford's of Clinton, Hannaford's of New Hartford, Hamilton Whole Foods, and Price Chopper of Hamilton. And let's take a tour around the sheets. Hamilton is firmly in control over Penn State 2, 9-0 after 3 innings of play. Over on sheet 3, it is 5-1, Harvard 2 over Villanova. They've completed 4. On sheet 4, it's all knotted up 2-2 after 3. MIT 1 and Yale 1. Over on sheet 5, it's 4-1, Bowdoin 1 over RIT 2. Just completed their 4th into play. Score hasn't been hung yet. And Colgate 2 has bounced back from a 3-0 deficit. They've grabbed a big 4 with a hammer in the 3rd end, and they now lead 4-3 over Castleton after 3 ends of play. That brings you up to date at the halfway point here on our final preliminary game in the A pool of the 2020 UCC College Bonspiel. Our feature game between Syracuse and RPI is a matchup between number 1 and number 2 ranked teams. They're both 2-0 with the best tiebreakers. And they're playing for top seed in the championship playoff round. Over on sheet 5, RIT and Bowdoin are playing. RIT is the other undefeated team at 2-0. They're also playing or vying for a spot in that championship playoff pool of 4 teams. With a win, RIT 2 could put them into playoff position. And right now, RIT 2 is down 4-3 after 4 innings of play. But they did pick up a deuce in the 4th end to tighten the score in that game. It's possible one of the 1-1 teams could grab a spot in the championship round, and Bowdoin 1, who is skipped by Isabella Vacour, they're playing RIT 2. They have a chance. They have an excellent tiebreaker, so a 2-1 finish for them would probably put them in the playoff picture for the championship round, and they've got a very fine team, losing only to Syracuse. If I have that right. No, it looks like they lost to MIT. Pardon me. But they have an excellent team. The last preliminary pool game for the B pool will go off at 7:30. And we've selected the top 2 teams in that pool for our 7:30 webcast, and that will be Cornell versus RIT 1. They're both undefeated with excellent tiebreakers, and they'll be playing for the number 1 seed in that pool. The other contender in Pool B is Villanova 1. They'll be playing Penn State 1. Winner of that game is very likely to make the playoff as well. And we could see a rematch of our feature game teams, Syracuse and RPI. If RPI loses this game and RIT2 wins their game, it's quite possible that RPI 1 will make the championship round, and they might meet Syracuse again in the final if they can win their semifinal game. So all is not lost in this format if you lose a game. But you do have to have 2 wins to have a chance of making the playoffs. Really nice double peel there by Chris Lorenz. Scatters a couple stones. See, the nucleus of this Syracuse team has got another year in them. They're improving every year. They might be able to follow in the footsteps of Suni Poly that went from an experienced curler and a bunch of first years to being the runner-up in the championship game at the USA Curling College Nationals last year. Syracuse had a breakout year last year. They didn't even expect to make the national championships, and although they had a rough go of it in the preliminary rounds, they actually won the consolation event, going 0-3 in the preliminaries and winning the losers bracket by going 3-0. That was a real lift for them. And they have picked up where they left off at the end of last season. I think that was a peel attempt, but it didn't remove the blue stone from play, and all of a sudden RPI's got a bunch of stones laying around the rings. And Syracuse have to get busy removing some stones here. Going to catch a break here with that draw attempt coming up light and over curling. So they should be able to go after shot stone. So make sure you hit something here. Syracuse is in hit mode. Got themselves a 7-point lead. Paul Mokotov. Little panic sweep there by Luke Sanders. This is going to curl. This one's a little down weight. Got by the first guard. Can they get by the second one? No. Should have stayed on that one all the way. Just a little down weight. And again, that's the curly side of the ice. The other side runs really straight. So a second chance now for RPI to grab 4. At least sit 4 here and set up a chance to grab a 4. Just need to hook one around into this space here. It'd be very difficult to remove. And that's going to guard Shot Stone. I'm not sure it's going to make the rings. Just going to come up short. Actually, Shot Stone is still open, but they're going to have to throw a lighter weight shot at it. Shot Stone's about 7/8 exposed. Want to make sure you get Shot Stone, though. You don't want to wreck on the guard. That may spin another blue one into the rings. That would be a little embarrassing, and that would leave RPI sitting 4 with a shot in hand. So an important shot here for Syracuse. And they might have waited too late on this one. And they did. Getting caught by the curl again. So another chance here to draw in. This would be a score of 4. This would put RPI back in business. Certainly make it very difficult for Luke Sanders to get his single. Might be looking at limiting the damage here. Syracuse could give up 2 here and not be too worried. They don't want to drop a 4 spot. So they're going to have to draw to outcount those 2 stones on the outer edges of the rings. It's going to come in nicely, I think. Definitely want this on the rings. And it is. Now they sit 4. Got a couple choices now. Syracuse can just draw the 8-foot over here. Or they can play this tap. The tap's actually a little more difficult. You have to get line and weight right for the tap. If you need to get a rock to a spot in the rings, usually the draw is the easier shot. This is a very important shot for Syracuse. They played kind of a lackadaisical end here with the hammer. And they're scrambling not to drop a big end. Last rock. 5th end, Luke Sanders. Needs to get a piece of the 8-foot here to cut down the damage. Not sure they're going to have enough oomph. Are they going to have enough? They are not. I'm not even sure they outcounted one of the stones. Needed a little more weight there. It looks like that may be a steal of 4. So turnabout's is fair play. Syracuse living large on the steal the first 3 ends. Then after getting the hammer back in the 5th, they cough up a steal, big steal of their own. Still in control, though. They'll retain the hammer in the 6th end. Up 3. I think if you'd ask Syracuse early in the game if they'd like to be up 3 in the 6th end, they would say yes. Especially up 3 with the hammer. One of the things I usually tell new skips when they give up a big end after getting a lead and they're starting to mope is to explain that the reason you have a big lead is so that you can blow it and not lose the game. So you can give up a big end if you've got a big lead, and you can live on to fight and maybe even stay in control. So the key here is not for Syracuse to panic. They're up 3. They've got the last rock advantage this end. So their goal is to make sure they score with the hammer. They don't need to have a deuce here, but they're going to be given a freebie here after that miss by RPI with their first lead rock. So for no risk, they can throw a corner guard here, and they might be able to get a cheap deuce. Taking a quick tour around the sheets, Hamilton leads Penn State 2, 9-1. That's after 4. Harvard 2 extends their lead, 7-1 over Villanova 2. They're through 5 ends. Yale 1 over MIT 1, 4-2 after 4. Bowdoin 1 maintains their 4-3 lead over RIT 2 after 4 ends. And Colgate and Castleton are all tied up 4-4 after 4 ends of play. And that gets you up to date. The other game to watch in this draw is RIT versus Bowdoin 1. RIT 2 and Bowdoin 1 are the 3rd and 4th ranked teams in this Pool A. And the winner has a really good, has a chance of qualifying for the playoffs. Only the top 2 will qualify for the championship playoff. The next 2 will qualify for the consolation playoff, and then there will be a 3rd tier playoff as well with the next 2 teams. So that game's over on sheet 5, and Bowdoin leads that one 4-3 over RIT 2. In our feature game, RPI has got something cooking with a center guard and a rock around. And Chris Lorenz will be asked to come around and chip this shot stone out. To clink the guard, it's okay as long as you don't remove it from play. Though I think the 5 rock rule has expired here, yes, so it doesn't really matter. You just want to make sure you hit one of the 2 blue rocks. And that's a really fine shot by Chris Lorenz. Hits and rolls that right out to the wing. Away from the center. Chris and Luke play in the men's leagues here at Utica, and that experience has really helped them a lot. I think pretty much any of the college players who've decided to join the leagues, which they can do here at pretty low cost, and curl with some more experienced curlers, can learn an awful lot about the game. Really improve their shot making and their shot tolerance. So another nice shot by Chris Lorenz. I mean, he made what they called, but I think they're taking a huge risk by leaving those two center guards in play. Those are the rocks that are really the danger rocks for Syracuse. So it gives RPI something to hide behind. Usually if you got the hammer, if you're not clearing those guards, you need to be going around them, but you're taking a big risk when you go around. The other team will follow you down and shrink the scoring area. Especially with the lead, you usually want to get rid of those guards. There's a lot of them to get rid of now, so kind of this is in for a penny, in for a pound at this point. So now it's first hog to the trough with all those guards in play. So Syracuse will have to try to get around those staggered guards first. Mainly just to prevent a steal by RPI. So for Syracuse, scoring one here is really huge. That would give them a 4-point lead with 2 to play and hammer in the last end. You always want to try to score with hammer in that 6th end if you have it. Indeed, you'd like to score anytime in the 6th end. That's really a key end, because scoring in the 6th and an 8-end game will give you normally hammer in the last end to play. And it's usually a big advantage to have 2 hammers to 1 with 3 ends to play. And that one just over curls. So Syracuse keeps giving RPI a chance here. They've got a couple different ways in. There's the out-turn draw, which they don't know very well. They've got the in-turn draw, and they've also got the hit and roll. So you've got 3 options to get in. So another chance for Skip Paul Mokotov to drop one around the guards onto the 4-foot. Just biting top 4 would be nearly perfect, I think. A lot of weight on this draw. Don't think this will hang around even if they get by. They're on the guard already. So both teams may be just getting a little fooled by the fact that the 2 sides of this sheet are distinctly different. There's quite a bit of curl on the sheet 3 side of sheet 2, and it's a lot straighter on the sheet 1 side. And I think that's crossed up both teams a little bit on reading the right ice. So they're taking the edge of the 8-foot here for this in-turn draw. You could almost take a little more. Certainly wouldn't take any less from this side. for skip rock for RPI. David Donkaski. And this is just going to coast right to the back of the rings. Paul may be able to get this one right out the back door, and does. Well, we've taken about 4 cracks at this, and so who's going to get there first?
We're going to try and take this one out.
The RPI rock curled a lot, even with through the rings weight. So the question is, will this be enough ice for top 4 weight? One thing's for sure, I think you got to get out to the broom on this shot. Be able to clear the guards. Gonna bolt toward the center in a hurry when the weight comes off. Weight looks pretty good here. Gonna run for the tick here. And they don't get the rub, but they do roll in for shot rock. But it is exposed, and so now a chance for RPI to hit and roll underneath. Set up a steal. Good weight out of Luke Sanders there, just didn't get the finish he was looking for. Might have been a little wide on that shot. I've got a feeling it curls more than a 1.5 feet there. If you hit the broom on the edge of the 8 foot, well, I guess that curled maybe almost 3 feet. Important shot here for David Donkaski for RPI. They need to make a good hit and roll here to set up a steal. I think they're just going to get right to nose, and it just a nose hit. And so a hit and stick now will be a big score of 3 for Syracuse. You can even hit and roll out here and score a deuce. Last rock, 6th in for Syracuse. Sweeping this one right out of hand. Yeah, I think they've got it. And the shooter's going to stick around, and that'll be a score of 3. Syracuse now leads 11-5 after 6 ends of play. Turning around our sheets, Hamilton 1 is in total control, 11-1 over Penn State 2. Game is tightened up a little bit on sheet 3. Villanova 2 is struck for 3. They now trail 7-4 after 6 to Harvard 2. Over on sheet 4, we've got a pretty tight one. It is 4-3 after 5. Yale 1 over MIT 1. Hammer goes back to Yale here in the 6th end. Bowdoin 1 has created some space over RIT 2. They now lead 6-3 after 5 ends of play. And Colgate 2 has taken a single. They've now taken a 5-4 lead over Castleton after 5. That catches you up all across the sheets here at the Utica Curling Club. In our final pool play game, the 2020 UCC College Bonspiel in the A pool. Not quite sure why Syracuse is throwing guards here with a 6-point lead with 2 to play. Perfectly fine to bring those stones in the house, especially as well as the Syracuse front end hits. I wouldn't be afraid to trade rocks in the house with any of these teams out here. And with 2 center guards in play, does give RPI at least some hope that they can generate some offense. A little bit of a missed sweep call by Syracuse and wrecked on come around. Looked like pretty nice weight. RPI peeling some guards. I think they'd like those guards in play. They need some guards to generate offense. Syracuse is just going to keep piling stones around if they can find the line here. Just another really fine shot by Chris Lorenz coming around the center guard. Does poke out the backside a little bit, but really nice draw weight. Right down to the top 4. That'll click on the guard, but they might be able to spin this on the rings. That could force Syracuse to chase. And Syracuse will continue to play aggressively here. The other option is just to run the blue stone off. You could even hit and roll and try to cover your shot stone, but for Syracuse, the name of the game here is elimination. Getting rid of your opponent's rocks is certainly a good strategy with a 5-point lead or a 6-point lead. They'll just draw in and sit 2. Yep, Caitlin Holtz just being asked to tap this rock to the back of the rings. Create some backers or some catchers for RPI stones. I think this one's a little heavier than they were thinking. Certainly will remove shot stone. It's going to roll in front of one of the backers, so not a bad spot. I think Syracuse will still chase that away. Paul Mokotov looking to remove RPI shot stone. This one's curling very hard. Hey, you've got it. Safely removed from play and rolls for shot rock onto the 4-foot behind the corner guard. And I wonder if that red-blue combination is lined up onto shot rock. There is a red-blue combo here. You could hit that and I think could drive the blue stone right onto shot stone. They might be saving that for later. You could draw one around now and be looking for that raise maybe a little bit later in the end. But later's only 2 stones. And that come around is going to be a little on the heavy side. That's going to roll for a 3rd shot. I think one more stone in the rings for Syracuse will ensure that they escape any trouble this end. Could bring this right into top 8, top 4 behind the center guard, and that would pretty much eliminate any risk from dropping a big end this end for Syracuse. And they're just going to leave that out for a guard. Covers the draw path on the outturn side. Provides a little cover for the stone on the back 8. So Syracuse does sit 1 and 2. First stone of this 7th end for David Tomkaski, and this one doesn't make the rings. Looking a little bleak. Last stone for Syracuse here in the 7th end. RPI's got 1 to come. Just throwing another guard, and RPI will have a tall order just to score this end. Pretty much all they have now is this wide outturn path. Now they're looking at the raise, but now they'll have to do a triple raise, a blue into red into blue. Last rock, 7th end for RPI. Looking for multiple run back. Didn't make contact. Did clip a stone in the back of the house. But I think Syracuse still stole 2 in the 7th end. That will give them a 13-5 lead, and that'll be handshakes. So call it a final. Syracuse 13, RPI 5. Game was probably closer than the score indicated, but Syracuse was on the better side of the inch on almost every end. RPI has a very talented team, and they still might yet make the championship playoff with a 2-1 record. A lot will depend on the outcomes of some of the other games here in the A pool. So I hope you all enjoyed our Draw 5 stream. The internet held up for us after a prolonged outage this afternoon. We apologize for missing some of the earlier draws today. We would have liked to have brought them to you, but things intervened. Anyway, this is Roger Alette. We'll be back with you at 7:30 with the last pool play game from Pool B in the qualifiers, and we'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 8:30 and 11:30 for the playoffs. Until 7:30 tonight, for the Utica Curling Club channel, Roger Alette. See you later.